I'm Penny Hess, chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, the organization of white people organized under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. Our job is to go into the white community, organize other white people just like ourselves, to take a stand in solidarity with the right of African people everywhere, for liberation, for the unification of African people dispersed around the world, and for reparations, the return of their stolen resources. One of our organizations of the APSC, the Solidarity Committee, is the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, USM. Like the Uhuru movement, as a whole, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement is growing in leaps and bounds because of the resistance of African people everywhere. And a few days ago, one of our new members, a new comrade, posted on Facebook that they were really excited to be a new member of USM. They were really happy about that. But then this person, Elizabeth Rucker from Boston, posted a response to the new comrade saying that Uhuru Solidarity Movement is a cult. So in response to that, we wrote a statement, and I want to read it. For you to call us a cult, Elizabeth, is a meaningless, emotionally charged buzzword for traitor to our race. Isn't that right, Elizabeth? We as white people stand under the leadership of Black power instead of under the leadership of white power, imperialism, and you find that intolerable. The Uhuru Solidarity Movement and APSC are historic organizations because for the first time in history, a party of the African working class, the African People's Socialist Party, has formed an organization of white people under its leadership as part of their strategy to win African liberation, self-government, and reparations. Everything we stand for, Elizabeth, is right here in the Burning Spear newspaper every month, in the quotations of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, in the chairman's book, An Uneasy Equilibrium, that tells the whole history of the enslavement of African people and the crisis of imperialism today and the resistance of African oppressed peoples around the world. And our book that we wrote in the Solidarity Committee, Overturning the Culture of Violence, that gives the history, the whole history of white people's complicity with the murders and tortures that we have carried out against African and oppressed peoples on the planet Earth. So there's no mystery, there's no secret. This is what we stand for. And what do you stand for, Elizabeth? I'm missing a page here. Hold on one second of my statement. What do you stand for, Elizabeth? We challenge you to have the courage to say what you don't agree with in the we challenge you to have the courage to say what you don't agree with in the premise of the freedom of Black people struggling in their own voice, in their own articulation, organization, and leadership. The Uhuru Solidarity Movement exists because this country and system are built on the assault on Africa, on the kidnapping and enslavement of a whole continent of African people who were turned into commodities, items for sale. Stolen labor, stolen land, freedom, and the genius that built the wealth of America and Europe were stolen from African people and gave us as white people the ability to live the lives and walk up the ladder of success and live the lives that we experience today and take for granted. USM was formed because this land was built on the genocide of the indigenous people and the theft of their land. USM was formed by the African People's Socialist Party, Elizabeth, because we as white people have not only benefited from this hideous violence towards African and oppressed peoples, we have historically participated in it voluntarily and gotten prosperity and democratic rights at the expense of African people. We lynched, we burned, we tortured, we scalped, we raped, and we murdered. We exercised the power of life and death over African, indigenous, and other oppressed peoples wherever we wanted. That is not conjecture, Elizabeth. This is recorded historical fact. The US government owes reparations to African people. Capitalism owes reparations to African people, and all white people owe reparations to African people, because everything that we got, every dream, every aspiration is stolen and comes at the expense of the liberation and the suffering of African people. The African People's Socialist Party stands for the right of African people everywhere. They have been, wherever they have been dispersed around the world, to have their homeland, Africa, to have the value of their stolen labor and resources back, and to have self-determination to rule and govern themselves under the leadership of the African working class. What do you stand for, Elizabeth? Again, for you to use a meaningless term like cult to slander the African Revolution and its solidarity members is dishonest, unprincipled, and slimy. The real cult is all of us from the white population who continue to blindly follow and adhere and benefit from parasitic capitalism that feeds our bank accounts and our fat bellies at the expense of everyone else, who gets shot down in the streets, locked up in concentration camps called prisons and reservations, and who have to live with drone strikes and US invasions carried out by this government in our name. We, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, are on the side of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who has fought for 50 years for African freedom in the face of a government counterinsurgency that assassinated Black leaders and destroyed their organizations. We are on the side of Deputy Chair Ona Yeshitela, who is leading the work in the African People's Socialist Party to build the economic infrastructure of the liberated African society. We're on the side of Yejide Oranmula of the African National Women's Organization, and Kalambayi Andanet, president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and Luwezi Kinshasa, building and leading the African Socialist International, organizing African people all around the world. We're on the side of Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Harriet Tubman, and Fannie Lou Hamer. Whose side are you on, Elizabeth? Stop trolling us, Elizabeth. If you are honest, then debate us. Debate us publicly. Say what you believe in. Come out of your cowardly rat hole and stand up and debate us. Say what you disagree with about the right of white people to stand in solidarity with the right of African people to be free, self-governing, and get reparations for their stolen resources and wrongs done to them. Debate us publicly, Elizabeth, or crawl back into your cowardly den of white nationalism. And we're calling on all those white people who want to take a stand on the forward side of history, on the side of African people, and for all those people whose lives, civilizations, and resources were stolen and destroyed with our complicity and for our benefit. Join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Join the African People's Solidarity Committee. If you want to be part of real change, if you want to do more than just slander the right of the African Revolution to have white people under their leadership as part of their strategy, if you want to be part of rectifying our history to African people and beginning to be able to turn loose our whiteness and have a principled relationship for the first time in 1,000 years to African people and to oppressed peoples on the planet Earth. If you want to pay reparations for our complicity with colonialism, with violence and the blood-sucking system, and be part of a future in which all human beings can live, no one at the expense of anyone else, and that's what Black Power is about, then join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the African People's Solidarity Committee. Go to uhurusolidarity.org and join the forward side of history. Uhuru.